In Landman, Tommy Norris has always carried himself like a man 10 steps ahead of everyone else. He reads rooms quickly, calculates risks faster, and rarely lets emotion interfere with business. For a long time, that made him feel untouchable. But what Season 2, and especially the direction heading into Season 3, starts to do is something bold. It lets Tommy fail. And surprisingly, that might be the smartest creative decision the show has made. At first glance, making your most dominant character stumble sounds risky. Tommy's authority is part of what makes him compelling. He's the guy who explains the rules of the oil game with cold precision. He's the one others look to when chaos erupts. So, why weaken that foundation? Because failure doesn't weaken him. It reveals him. The strategy of letting Tommy fail forces the audience to see beyond the myth. Up until now, he's operated almost like a force of nature, someone who absorbs pressure and redirects it outward. But when things slip through his control, when a deal collapses or a decision backfires, we see something new. We see the limits of control in an industry built on volatility. Oil isn't stable. Markets shift. Politics interfere. People betray each other. By allowing Tommy to fail, the show mirrors the unpredictability of the world he operates in. It would actually feel unrealistic if he won every time. The oil business thrives on uncertainty, and so should the storytelling. What makes this approach genius is that Tommy's failures aren't loud or melodramatic. They're strategic miscalculations. Overconfidence. Underestimating someone. Trusting the wrong ally. These aren't random plot twists, they're character-driven consequences. The same traits that make Tommy powerful, his confidence, his emotional detachment, his belief that he sees everything clearly, can also blind him. That duality adds depth. Instead of a one-dimensional power figure, we get a man navigating the cost of his own philosophy. There's also a psychological layer here. Tommy has built his identity around being the one who doesn't flinch, the one who teaches brutal lessons, the one who tells others how the world really works. So when he fails, even slightly, it threatens that identity. Not publicly. He rarely shows cracks in front of others, but internally. And that internal pressure is fascinating to watch. Failure forces adaptation. It forces reassessment. If Tommy were always right, he'd stagnate as a character. By letting him be wrong, the show opens the door to evolution. Maybe he becomes more ruthless. Maybe he becomes more cautious. Maybe, and this would be the boldest route, he learns that control isn't absolute. Either way, growth only happens through friction. Another reason this strategy works is that it raises the stakes for everyone else. If Tommy can lose, anyone can. His aura of invincibility once created a sense of safety around him. Now that's gone. Associates and rivals alike start recalculating their positions. When the king stumbles, even briefly, the entire power structure shifts, and that tension fuels the drama. There's also something refreshing about a show willing to challenge its strongest character. Many series protect their leads too much. They shield them from meaningful consequences because they fear diminishing their appeal. But Landman leans into the risk. It understands that audiences don't just want dominance, they want struggle. Struggle creates empathy. When Tommy fails, we don't suddenly see him as weak. We see him as human. The weight he carries feels heavier. The decisions feel riskier. The victories, when they do come, feel earned rather than inevitable. It's also important to note that failure doesn't erase his competence. He's still sharp, still strategic, still dangerous. But now there's unpredictability attached to him. He's not just a master of the game, he's a player vulnerable to it. That subtle shift makes every scene he's in more suspenseful. On a thematic level, making Tommy fail reinforces one of the show's core ideas. Power is temporary. Control is fragile. No matter how disciplined or ruthless you are, external forces can disrupt everything. That message becomes far more powerful when the character preaching realism has to confront it himself. And perhaps the most brilliant part of the strategy is how it reframes his brutal lessons. When Tommy tells others that the world is merciless and unforgiving, those words now apply to him too. He's no longer just the teacher of hard truths. He's subject to them. That symmetry is storytelling at its best. By allowing Tommy Norris to fail, Landman avoids turning him into a caricature of dominance. Instead, it builds a layered portrait of a man navigating a ruthless system that doesn't guarantee victory, no matter how smart you are. His setbacks don't diminish his presence. They deepen it. In the end, the genius isn't in watching Tommy lose. It's in watching how he responds. Does he double down? Does he recalibrate? Does he learn, or does he refuse to? That uncertainty keeps the narrative alive. Because true power in storytelling isn't about being unstoppable. It's about being tested. And by testing Tommy Norris, Landman proves it understands exactly what makes great television.